Welcome to the New Wealth Wave podcast hosted by Dr. Joaquin Wallace. We're diving deep into the intricate layers of the 7-stage generational wealth model to offer invaluable insights on legacy building, wealth accumulation and preservation, and financial growth across generations. I'm Dr. Joaquin Wallace, and this is the New Wealth Wave podcast.
Hey, future wealth builders. This is Dr. Joaquin Wallace, and thank you for joining me on the New Wealth Wave podcast. Guess what? We are at the end of quarter number 2. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We have some great guests. Our subscriptions continue to grow, as well as our views on our content continue to escalate as well. So let's take a look at some of those outstanding episodes of quarter 2. To help lead the discussion will be Dr. Preston D. Cherry, who is a financial harmony expert, educator, and author of The Wealth of the Key of Life and the CEO of Concurrent Wealth Management, and also the director of the financial planning program at UW Green Bay, and has over 18 years of experience in this financial space. Dr. Cherry, welcome to the studio, my man.
Oh, Dr. Wallace, thank you so much. Overdue, but right on time.
Before you became who you are today, where were you at on the model?
Multiple times in my life, right at number 1. Stage 1. I know that may be cliche because it's number 1. It starts with the self. Here, my parents, I talk about them a lot, and I've been very blessed to have parents in my life for so long. We grew up together. Dad was 21, my mother was 18. They were discovering themselves, and they were trying to empower the next generation from where they were from and make conscious decisions. So they made a conscious and intentional decision to instill self-worth and self-value into their children. I say all the time that no one is self-made. Matter of fact, it's the first sentence of the book. No one is self-made because somebody did something for you. Now, when people talk about self-made, they're talking about not receiving the inheritance. And we'll talk about that later. But when we talk about wealth, what type of generational wealth did you inherit or get transferred to you? And for me, it was self-worth, self-value, your 2 most compoundable assets that you can use to elevate yourself or repair yourself because you have a foundational mechanism.
Where are you at right now on the model?
I'm on stage 5 and 6. And 6 is the generational knowledge. I'm not totally financially free yet. I tell a lot of people, I say, listen, you'll know when I'm financially free. You'll know that. They be like, well, you going to call us up? I said, nope, the complete opposite. If you ain't heard from Brother Cherry in a little bit, they be like, hey, man, he done made it right there. But I got my finances in order to where I appreciate them. I value them. I'm comfortable. I have time affluence. I have choice affluence, flexibility. So I really appreciate my finances right now. I just want to keep them going because I know, hey, look, been broke multiple times too, either through external forces or internal forces or a combination thereof. So I know what that feels like. And we talk about financial wellness and well-being, right? Feeling secure and feeling confident in managing your life and money so you can achieve what you will want. And right now I feel that way. Now we're going over to stage 6, which was that generational, but when we just spoke about transferring that self-value, self-worth into the next generation, which I received, well, my wife and I are passing that on to our son. And then number 2, we're a little bit more financially ahead than our parents. And so now we're also transferring the finances. Money talks in the home or essential. There's a fancy word is a financial socialization, right? And my dad, he said, well, you went to school with the PhD to learn all them big words? That ain't nothing but a chop up. It's all essential. Money talks started, my wheel, where you're talking about. I'm talking about both of our wheels, but I'm talking about the wheel of life and money. It started in the home, understanding emotions during challenging times, uplifting and celebrating milestones, and talking about what's going on, the dollars and cents with an S. What is going on, the ebbs and flows? We had those talks, Dr. Wallace, and still to this day, there are some things that I've carried forward and practiced because of the money talks that we had in our home, and they've carried forward ever since.
From your perspective, what are the biggest obstacles to financial inclusion, and how can we dismantle them?
It goes to the question about inclusivity. We're going through some challenging times right now with misinformation. And when I read, exclusion meant one thing and inclusion meant another. I don't know. That's just become my own basic reading because reading is fundamental. And when we talk about inclusion in the challenging times that we have right now, folks just want access across the board evenly, and then they'll take it from there. It's simply not wanting to be oppressed and also to be included fairly into the system and the choice-making mechanisms and the equity of society. And that's it. No more, no less. And inclusion means not to exclude.
To help lead the discussion will be James Alexander, who is a certified financial planner, partner at Edge Financial Advisors. and co-host of Ed's Edge. We know that we have a lot of turmoil in the market itself, and James is uniquely skilled at helping families navigate this uncharted path that we're on today.
Educate yourself on what's going on without trying to have too much anxiety about it. I know that's hard to do, but be aware of our environment so you can understand the actual impact. But more importantly than that, the biggest takeaway I want people to have is control what you can control, focus on your game, your own financial game, laser focused, and set up yourself well regardless of what's happening outside.
How does the market work versus how the economy works?
This is so foundational to understand is the stock market versus the economy. The economy is a snapshot in time. For example, what is the unemployment rate? How are jobs doing? What is earnings across the board? It's a snapshot in time, fixed point. The stock market is forward looking. It doesn't care about today. It cares about tomorrow. By tomorrow, I mean 1, 2, 3 years from now. And so what the stock market always tries to do is look at what the future will be. And it's a probability game. If something happens, that means a probability of this will occur and we don't like that, so we're going to dip down. And it's ever evolving on that. And that's how the stock market works. It's a pricing game for the future versus the economic landscape is fixed in nature. And so while they're correlated, they're not exactly the same. With tariffs now, if I import it from overseas, I might be paying a 25% tax on that metal. And so now instead of it costing me $100, it's costing me as a business $125. Where does that $25 go? It does not go to the country that exported it over to us. It goes to the United States government, right? So that's one of the common misconceptions is the other countries are not benefiting from this. In fact, they're being detrimented probably because less people are going to do business with them if the other country has to pay more. But going back to Ford, if I'm paying $125 when I used to be paying $100, now I'm thinking to myself, okay, I might have to charge more because I still need to make a profit and I need to keep my business going. And so that's the concerns in the macro about what's going on with tariffs and all the back and forth that we're hearing.
How can we remain calm in a world of uncertainty?
First and foremost, understanding what we can control and understanding what we can't control and being at peace with what we cannot control, which I understand is hard. You know, when you're investing overall for the long term, what can you control? You have complete control over your spending and your saving. You have complete control over asset mix and risk and all of that. And you also have control over your legacy. And so we want to focus on those things. What you have some control on are, amount of taxes you pay. You can't change the tax code, but there's some strategies there. Employment earnings, how long you work, things of that nature, you have some control there. But this is the piece that creates so much fear that I've experienced with my clients. Can I do anything about government policy right now? Right? I'm not in Congress. I'm not working with the administration. I don't have any control over that. I have to be at peace with that aspect and focus on what matters to me.
To help lead the discussion will be Jaelyn J. Vickery, LSW, a clinical and financial therapist specializing in financial psychology and disordered consumption. She helps individuals transform their relationships with food, money, and identity for lasting well-being. Through Dimensional Well LLC and her Finance Fitness Finesse podcast, she empowers others to break compulsive consumption cycles using her momentum methodology, integrating financial therapy with mental health to align decisions with personal values. Jaelyn, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Disordered consumption, it's a compulsive, excessive, or avoidant relationship with resources, typically driven by our emotional, psychological, or societal factors, rather than channeling actual need and values. To put it briefly, it goes beyond food. It can include hoarding your time, such as overcommitting or avoidance of productivity. We are definitely social beings, so we can experience disordered consumption of validation. That it can be compulsive social media use, needing external approval, being a people pleaser, a yes man, almost to your detriment. Disordered consumption can also include impulse-driven behaviors. That's gambling, even overworking, obsessive collecting of things, obsessive scrolling. And there's also an aspect of emotional withholding within disordered consumption, and that can include self-deprivation in our finances, in our sense of self, our relationships, or even neglecting and avoiding different responsibilities for our physical health. I knew change was imminent regarding to change in finding a way to engage with personal finance that wasn't so intimidating. I feel like there's a big avoidance factor that goes on when you're in your young adult years, where you're still like, okay, do I let go of my childhood and really take everything on my own? And that was something I had to face after graduating with my bachelor's degree. I was on my own for the first time. I mean, I'm really thankful for that. My parents gave a little bit of a sink or swim mentality of kind of like pushing me into the water, but we were taught to rise up to the challenges that we face. And for me, it was rent being due and the same amount being in my bank account, maybe even $100 or less. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to afford anything until I really face the intimidation of thinking I'm not going to be good at understanding money. So financial anxiety and doubt tried to creep in post-graduating and trying to find a way to afford my basic needs. But my aha moment was deciding to find a job in banking so I could learn about the basics of personal finance. We are meant to consume to live. There's nothing wrong with you for consuming different things, but be mindful of how the consumption of each good is contributing to the good in your life, both in the short and the long term. That can really help with your decisions. Your limiting beliefs do not define you. They tell you what you value most. And I will also leave you with, if you truly want a rich life, you have to focus on building wealth with wellness centered in intentional living. But that's what the human experience is. We are not one-dimensional beings, so don't try and be that, because it's only going to cause more distress in the long run. The acronym for the dimensions of wellness is 5 reps: financial, intellectual, vocational, emotional, relational, environmental, physical, and spiritual. When you neglect one, you're going to neglect others. So if you're wondering why you're not having the financial success, the success in your job, or even in your focus and clarity, it's probably due to neglect in other areas of your life. If you've been feeling like you're in survival mode financially or emotionally, and I have been there, one of the biggest things is changing your environment. And that can also incorporate movement. So making time for yourself to just go for a 20-minute walk with no technology, just taking in everything around you. That's just a way to separate yourself out of it. When we change our environment, we can really take in all factors that are influencing us being in survival mode. But say you don't have the opportunity to change your environment, I'd like to encourage you to find empowerment in how you actually want and vision your intentional life being, because you're not stuck. Healing starts with self-awareness and small changes.
Future Wealth Builders, I hope you enjoyed a recap of those outstanding episodes. As I mentioned, our views are increasing, our subscriptions are increasing as well. So make sure you continue to share our information as well. And guess what? I have some great news coming in Q3. I'm going to keep it as a secret right now. But as we always say, generational wealth begins with generational knowledge. I'll see you at the start of Q3 of 2025. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on the New Wealth Wave podcast, hosted by Dr. Joaquin Wallace. Our show is edited and produced by Ray Haycraft. To dive deeper into the world of financial wisdom and learn how to create your financial footprints, head to our website at www.drjwallace.com. For more updates and exclusive content, connect with us on social media by searching Dr. Joaquin Wallace. And if you have questions and comments, feel free to email us at thenewwealthwavepodcast@gmail.com. Remember, generational wealth begins with generational knowledge. And as always, thanks for listening. The content presented in this podcast is strictly for educational purposes and should not be taken as investment advice. The views and opinions expressed by our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the New Wealth Wave podcast and its host or producers. Listeners are urged to exercise discretion and judgment before making any financial or investment decisions. Always consult with a financial professional or advisor before taking any action based on the content of this podcast. If you're enjoying the New Wealth Way podcast, we appreciate if you leave us a review. We're always open to topic suggestions and guest recommendations. Feel free to reach out to us directly with your thoughts and feedback. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the New Wealth Way podcast.